Okay, we're on this video on Sunday, the 14th of January 2018. Do hope you are doing well. So, Friday was an interesting day on the currency markets. We had one of those days where everything moved together. All of the major and minor currencies moved up against the US dollar. And this is one of my summary charts that I use to kind of see the major currencies. We've got the dollar index here, Japanese yen, euro, British pound, Aussie dollar, Canadian dollar. Doesn't look great on a kind of small screen here, recording on a video, but on a big screen looks perfectly good and you can see what's going on. And we had blue professional bars on almost all of these majors except the Canadian dollar. And you can see their blue professional bar here falling through support on the dollar index, and that's a classic Wyckoff pattern, falling through the ice, getting this kind of trending move going on the way down. On the flip side, we've got jumping the creek moves, which is the opposite of falling through the ice, where we're breaking resistances with blue professional bars on the way up. So here's the euro, we've got the British pound breaking resistance, blue professional bar up, Aussie dollar, same deal, after a little bit of gathering at a previous high here with those blue professional bars. Japanese yen, we're bouncing off support rather than breaking through resistances, but these are classic falling through the ice and jumping the creek type moves. Particularly like them when the volume's big, the range is big, the average trade size is big, and we kind of close on the highs of these bars or close on the lows of these breakdown bars. That suggests that the momentum is good. Everybody's kind of freaked out against a previous kind of important support resistance, and we're kind of running stops, and people are forced to kind of chase the trend and so on. And it kind of means that there's momentum going in this direction, and it'll keep going for a while. Because we're breaking these resistances and supports on these daily time frames, where it'll go will be at least towards a pullback to end of trend on these daily time frames. But what I'm particularly looking at is the dollar index chart. So dollar index chart, this is our kind of more traditional view with the blue professional bars and the yellow amateur bars. Our support and resistances in here, and then our exhaustion and bearish and bullish divergence patterns on better momentum. This is the system view of the dollar index, same chart, just a slightly different view. And you can see we maxed out after exhaustion buy and bearish divergence back here at the end of 2016 in the dollar index. And since then, we fell into a downtrend here. These are the white bars on the way down, continuous downtrend on the way down here. We found some support with blue professional bars kind of coming in mid last year. But what we have not seen is exhaustion sell on the downside. So although we've had exhaustion buy on the way up, we've got to see exhaustion sell on the way down in order to mirror that kind of pattern there. And so that's why I don't think this move down on the dollar index is over. Although we've seen some pullback to end of trends on the low and intermediate time frames, and blue professional bars seemingly coming in at the lows, because we haven't seen the exhaustion selling on the way down, the move's not over. Markets move from extremes of emotion from one side to the other. This was an extreme bullishness in terms of the dollar index, got everybody in, and that's why we ran out of buyers at this point. We reverse and go the other way. Now we're starting to break to new lows, and this level is pretty important when you look back historically. This kind of 90-91 level down here. As soon as we're kind of starting to break there, all of a sudden we start to see panicking coming in. The large volumes will come in. This exhaustion cell will come in order to form like a left shoulder on the way down. We'll just have to wait and see where that level actually kind of comes in. But until we see those exhaustion patterns on the way down, I don't think this downtrend move in the dollar index is over. Then pretty much all the other currencies you can see we've broken into strength. So I won't belabor the point, but you can see it on each of the charts on the way up. Here's the euro system view, all red bars, bang, 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 just uptrend kind of going on here. And we're continuing to break through resistances. Here on the euro chart, we're breaking the low and the intermediate time frame. Confirmed uptrend, bang, continuing going. Japanese yen, we'd found a significant cyclical support on the highest time frame, and here we're breaking into an uptrend above resistance on the intermediate time frame, so we've turned red on the Japanese yen. British pound, same deal. We're breaking again through two time frames, the low and the intermediate time frames. So this thing's got to go until we see pullback to end of trends on those daily, potentially intermediate time frames as well. Aussie dollar, again, just broken above resistance on a lowest time frame here. So breaking back into strength here after the cyclical support on the highest time frame held down here at 75s, now breaking up to 79s. And again, these things won't be over until we see pullback to end of trends on those daily and potentially intermediate time frames. Canadian dollar showing strength the whole way, even though we had a real big sell-off in the last several months from 83 down to 77s. Systems shown us strength the whole time, and we're just continuing to break through resistances here. Swiss franc, heavily manipulated kind of currency, don't particularly like this one at all, but again, breaking through resistances. The bars have turned red. Its intermediate and low time frames were broken here, so showing strength there and breaking into an uptrend. Mexican peso, after the news this week, Mexican peso was everybody saying, oh, NAFTA's off, rescind the deal, blah, blah, blah. The Mexican peso, Canadian dollar kind of sold off. Well, the blue professional bars are saying otherwise. They kind of freaked everybody out, held us at this point. We break above the highs of that, kind of get going above resistance on the intermediate time frame. So, even though the news is bad for the Mexican peso, the story is that we're breaking into red bars and an uptrend on Mexican peso. So, maybe kind of freaking out the more fundamental traders there based on the news. New Zealand dollar, same deal, bang, 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 broken into an uptrend, breaks above the low and intermediate time frame, red bars, strength going on there. You can see it kind of just continues on. And even some of the real minor ones. So we've got the Brazilian real. Here, the back history is really sketchy because we do not have a continuous contract on TradeStation of the Brazilian real. But anyway, a market anyway, breaking into an uptrend with red bars going on here. South African rand. So here, they had a change of government a few months ago, and support came in on the highest time frame, and all these red bars showing strength here. Here's the Russian ruble. Again, same deal. No back history. We have to just use the latest contract, and that's why there's no significant kind of back history here, because of the continuous contract hasn't been created. But again, breaking to new highs. Red bars going on here. Bang, bang, bang. And Turkish lira, a real exotic here. Here we don't have a futures contract on TradeStation, so I just look at the USD cash market versus the TRY, which is the Turkish lira. And so you have to flip this thing upside down in your mind. This is strength in the US dollar, and now we're breaking down, which means strength in the Turkish lira. Nice little kind of rotation chart, just shows most of the majors against the US dollar here and averaging all of those. So a little bit different than the dollar index. The dollar index is a weighted average of the major currencies. Here I've just done a straight average of those currencies. And you can see since mid-2015, that white average line has been trending up, which is all of the other currencies against the US dollar strengthening, and the US dollar is weakening. And the biggest ones up here, the most successful currencies in the last year have been the euro, the pound, and actually just sitting underneath that pound reading here is the Mexican peso at 12.83, reading kind of up there. So those are the strongest kind of going on. So there we go, just a little video on what's going on in the currency markets. We are jumping the creek and falling through the ice patterns on Friday, which suggests that we got another leg of the currency trend move to go down in the dollar index and up in pretty much everything else. Anyway, there we go. Hope your trading goes well next week.